that was created to experience the extremes. Right now, we are experiencing what we are not when we cross over. Right? Decaying of the body, pain, suffering, all experienced here, not there. So this is the only construct in creation where we experience the absolute extremes of what we are not. And in that case, it becomes the unexperienced, and therefore, this is where it could go into deeper things based off people's consciousness. There's no good or bad, etc. It's just an experience. But when you are out of all constructs completely, so like the image that I shared, when you're out of them completely and you're standing back into the source and creation of all things, there's no limitation on what you could experience, create, etc. This is also the only earth, I'm just going to call it the earthly construct. This is the only one where we experience incarnation, right? It doesn't exist anywhere, because when you go into different places on the other side, you don't need to be birthed to experience, and you don't need to die to exit, because you're going into those places with your soul, which doesn't die. So you pop in, had enough, you pop out. Here in this realm 1, you have to be birthed and then death in order to exit. It's not even how it is on even within the realm number 5, which is the heavenly realm.
What exists outside of the constructs?
You go back to the beginning of way back, right? Into, we're talking about essence, source, beginning. There really wasn't a beginning, because it just is. But I'm just saying beginning because it helps understand. You go way back to the beginning. It's actually the void. So outside of all things is the void. It's the, what I call the black spaces, which I've been taken to. When I was 16, I've been taken to 3 times out of my body. And the void it's extremely empty, very peaceful, while at the same time you could tune into all things. It's the void, and it's black, not because it's dark, because it contains all the color. Black is black because it has all the color. So that's the beginning of things. Like if you were to step back to source, God created the earthly realm, and then he said, let there be light. Light is always secondary. Same on the other side. You see, the black space, the void, bursts light. When you, and even look at it this way as well. When you close your eyes, right, you're in the void, you're in the blackness. When you start to imagine something, you burst light into creation. Through imagine it into your vision, and you start to see it. Same thing there. So when you're in the beginning, it's pretty much of all things, you're back in the void. And when you want to experience something, you birth the light into creation to experience whatever it is that you want. This is where the black space, the void, created all things, the extremes, heaven and hell, duality, all of it, all from there.
Wow.
So isn't it amazing how that's what Brother Bobby talked about, the triple black darkness, chaos, and how people use that wrong.
I wanted to come back because there's definitely a difference, because when you're over there, more of yourself, you remember things again. Slow, it's not all at once, but slowly it comes in, And she showed me that this realm the construct comes to completion. This is the final version. Like I said, the games, version 1, version 2, version 3, well, this is the last version of the earthly realm experience, is what she was showing me. So there will be it's the last chapter of this book. And she was showing me the completion of this, which was showing to me in a big celebration. And that was basically, and when she showed me that, my soul wanted to come back. I had the urge to, because there is your eternal aspect of yourself. So you always return back there. Each soul goes back home. And when she showed me the completion of this, it was like, okay, well, because this is never going to repeat again and never going to happen again, my soul desires to experience the unexperienced, because it adds to you in a way that I can't fully comprehend now. Like it's almost like it adds to your soul by 1,000, even though that's it's a random number, but it adds to you a lot when you do crossover again to experience something that will never happen again. Because all of the memories, all of the experiences are all stored within the records, the universal records on the other side. So it's different from a soul on the other side when it comes to its completion, could view all the experiences, but it's like reading a book versus experiencing it. But when you're here, you experience it, you get something different from just reading the book. It's the number one thing, like I said before, that holds you back from accessing everything. It holds you back from accessing the records of all things, holds you back from accessing the nature of this reality, what it looks like from the other side. You could say it's like it's realm stacked on God's shelves or something like that. That's how I've also seen it before. It holds you back from I would say that is the number one thing that actually cuts you off from accessing all information that can be accessed if you demand it and command it to be so, because you, as a soul, are free to access all this stuff. It's not just unique to one individual. Every soul has access to it if they have the willingness and desire to access it. Now, going back to your question, fear, how do you get rid of it? The number one fear when you look at fear of things is the fear of death. It doesn't matter what that fear really is. It could be fear of losing your job. What does that really lead to? Why is the fear present? It's the fear of the unknown. Typically, you dial it down to the core, the fear of death, right? And so to get rid of fear, you need to get rid of the fear of death. To truly get rid of fear, you need to get rid of the fear of death. And this is something that has taken me, and I'm not over-exaggerating here, it has taken me years to get rid of this fear. And it only was because of the sleep paralysis state. Because many times when you're in sleep paralysis, and people that have experienced this one time, because it's rare to experience it many times through the course of your life, and also leave your body many times like I have. But when you're constantly presented in sleep paralysis, where you always feel like you're dying, and then you leave your body and you realize that your consciousness exists, your soul exists outside of the body, that fear eventually goes away. Because what people really fear, the core of it, like I said, is death. But they fear because they fear of the unknown, what awaits them on the other side. And typically, they're afraid of what awaits them on the other side because they think they're going to be judged. And there is no judgment on the other side. Everything is in a state of unconditional love, because you cannot have unconditional love with a judgment, right?
Exactly.
So with that very thing that I just said, when you leave, there's no judgment. The only person that's judging you on the other side is yourself.
Oh my God.
And it's typically due to the love that you withheld here. That's typically, you reflect back on that. Like what? So to leave the body and to access, you have to get into the state where you are okay and unafraid of dying. Everybody can do this, and everybody should be doing it, because that's the thing. If in this realm that we're in this game, that the powers that be do not want individuals to know or do.
The powers that were.
Because when you are doing these things and leaving your body and accessing the beginning of all things in the records, you become an uncontrollable soul. Because how could you be controlled when you have access to all things and you exist outside of the body? The body could be controlled. The body could be imprisoned and all those things. But you as a soul, when you know how to leave the body, you cannot be controlled. And so if more people do this controlled, you are over on the other side. You also get access to time, right? And how time works here is basically, and how it was shown to me, is like a deck of cards, right? This how it was presented to me two ways, but this is the best way that I like to explain it. It was presented to me there like a deck of cards. And this being showed me a deck of cards, and she spread them out on the table. And you got a card here, a card there, a card there. And she's like, this is how you experience time. You jump from this card to this card to this card to this card, one event to the next, right? And then she said, this is how we experience time. And she took all those cards, put them together, and on the top of it, like this portal opened, which then you could see all things happening all at once. All things are happening. There was no past, present, and future. They view it as all happening. With that exit the realm completely. Some of them just stay here and they're waiting, right? Until they could cross over completely when everything's done, or take their relatives with them. Because there's also through some of the stuff that has been presented to me, there's also a point in no return as well. And that's not a fearful thing either. I'm not saying that like a fear thing. It's just there's a point where if you choose that not done, I want to completely exit 100%. There is no returning back, because this realm is coming to a completion. And so the realms that exit this construct completely, you're not returning back. And so a lot of souls are still, that's why you could still feel and access a lot of things here, because a lot of souls are waiting for that finale.
Brother Bobby said that.
Space. She also showed me all of the constructs in all of the realms and dimensional spaces that are contained within those. And she was showing me all these places, and I was able to tune into them all at once. Some of them look like puddles on the floor that you could step into. So when you enter this realm, typically you enter it through water. Mm-hmm. And in this realm in particular, you enter it through water, and your memories bleed through the realm. She showed me the constructs of realms and the dimensional spaces. She also showed me time back then, at 16, which time was shown to me on, looked like thin layers of crystal glass that she put her hand on and stuff like that. That was the first time I was presented with time and seeing it until, previously with the, until now, into the cards, what I've already explained.
You use the word construct, and that to me implies that somebody created it. Am I right about that, or what do you think?
Yeah, so this place is created, right? Now, a lot of people may think that, this place is created by God or all those things. And if that is because you also need to, if that's the viewpoint and a belief that people hold, then we'll say that it was created by God, right? But all of the constructs, which contains the realms and the multidimensional spaces, are created by individual souls. So me, you on the other side could create whatever it is that we want. So you could create your own heaven on the other side, while at the same time create your own hell on the other side, based off your fullest expression of your soul wanting to experience, right? When I say there's no limitation, whatever it is that Darius, Jeff, or anybody else wants to experience on the other side, the only way to experience that is to create it. And you create it through creating the construct, the realms, and the dimensional spaces so that you can have that experience, whatever it is that you want.
Why do we come to this realm?
Based off what I've gotten so far through leaving my body and accessing this, is the beginning of this was we entered this realm in the beginning. So let's just say if there's 12 realms total, like I said before, and then you work your way down to realm number 1. We entered this as a game to experience, right? And so you enter the 12th realm, which would be very light and as close as you can get to all the pleasures of physicality with no limitations, everything that I've already discussed already. And as you progress through the realm, the construct game, and get to realm 1, it becomes the hardest and dense, well, not densest, the hardest and most cut off from remembering who you are. So the best way to explain it is that this was a game that was created originally to experience that which you are not. And that's just the best way to summarize it, because then that could go into many different avenues as well, based off people's different perceptions and beliefs.
Do you think that this is the hardest game out of all the realms?
Yeah, it is. This one is the hardest place to be, because no other place in creation is like this. Like I said before, when you enter different spaces or are on the other side, you don't forget who you are. This is the only place in all creation that exists where you forget who you are. And you have duality as what we experience here. The extremes and the distortions and the being corrupt, having the body decay, all these things only exist within this realm, nowhere else.
Do you think part of us is always not in this realm or on the other side, but it's kind of blocked out from us?
Yeah, so every single night when you go to sleep, you're accessing the other side.
I always say
that. And everybody is. Now, when you're accessing the other side, why don't people remember it, right? The only reason why people don't remember it is because how much their consciousness is there and able to bring back. Now, this is why I said before, I don't like lumping myself in with the astral or lucid and things like that, because it's they understand a part of it, and they think that part is the sum of all things, when it's just one part to, understanding. They're not actually putting everything together. So dreams, I'll just say, when you're having a dream, your consciousness is 25% there. That's why when you wake up, you're like, oh, I had this experience, but I can't remember it. It's not fully coming through. A lucid dream or astral projection, I would say your consciousness is about 50% there, where like you could remember detail and you're like, I've gotten all this amazing information. But when you properly leave your body through an out-of-body state or near-death experience, this is where you are 100% there. There's zero connection to your physical body, and whatever you see there and what you access there, you could fully bring in within the body. So you're accessing the other side. Everybody is every single night when they're falling asleep. But the thing that prevents people from fully getting the information is fully being there. And it's through the technique that I use, the out-of-body state, it's 100% fully conscious, fully aware. It's no different from a near-death experience, but it's controlled.
You have met all types of beings on the other side, I believe. Are those beings basically us choosing different forms, or are they completely different beings?
No, all of them are different. Each soul has its own unique expression of self. So there's no soul over there, which is you could say it's an aspect of you or a reflection of you, because we all come from the same black space, which is the beginning of all things. But at the same time, we are all very, very different, uniquely different, that you could even argue that we're not even the same at all, because this is where it goes into each individual soul has to honestly express themselves unapologetically, because that honest expression of yourself is your uniqueness. That's your soul. And so there's no soul that's the same on the other side. We're all unique.